All right, thanks for joining me today on my channel. This is Discovering My Money. And of course, I talk about budgeting. Um, Today, I want to kind of talk about this thing that I came across about how all billionaires or multimillionaires, um, they just reinvest their money. They don't spend money. So, spending money is apparently just something us poor people do. Well, all these billionaires don't spend money. They just, they reinvest it. Now, obviously, they drive around in some very expensive vehicles. They live in some very expensive homes, but the whole concept does actually probably have some merit. Now, obviously, if you are living on a very low income, it's hard to do the same thing that these millionaires would do because they can take a large percentage of their earnings every month or year or whatever and reinvest it into something that's going to make them even more money. Whereas as individuals who are using up a high percentage of your monthly income just to survive, you've got small amounts. And so it seems like that small amount isn't really useful. It's not something that it's even worth your time. But if you think about it over a long period of time, you're going to improve your situation. So budgeting in for savings, possible reinvestment. Maybe you have thoughts of opening a business. I've run into a lot of people who decide to open a business, but they didn't budget for it. They didn't plan for it. They just decided, I'm going to open a business. And they end up going into debt for all the stuff they need for this business. And then they're not successful. And so I think that's the whole idea of, all these millionaires take their extra money to reinvest it as opposed to putting themselves in debt. Now, they do talk about how millionaires and billionaires use other people's money, and I think that's also a concept that maybe gets overused a little bit. But as far as the budgeting part goes, how can you take that extra money you have and reinvest it? Either put it into some kind of savings that's going to get you interest, reinvest it into a business. Like, how much do you need so you can start budgeting for that thing you need to start a side business? Um, and not necessarily something that's going to be all about you doing a whole bunch of extra labor and extra time, but how can you put yourself in a positive situation? So that may or may not be something you want to do, but if you put that money aside for that special reason of how you can reinvest money, either through buying stocks or ETFs, um, having a rental property, all things like this are important to consider that they may be part of your future. When you're younger, you may not consider that, or maybe you're at an age like me where you say, "Well, I just need to get enough to retire." But in retirement, how are you going to survive, right? So just be open to this whole um, how can I use my money to my benefit, reinvest it for my future, and having part a little piece of that for your budget is not necessarily a bad thing, and it's something I always have going on in my mind. How am I utilizing the money that I do have, and how am I making the best use of it? How can it work for me? Definitely something to consider once you have your budget organized. You're starting to save money. How are you saving this money, and how is it going to benefit you for your future? All right. I hope you'll click subscribe and like. Follow along for my next budgeting video. We'll see you then.